This is a conference about relevance, which is obviously incredibly important in the world of advertising. But what I'm really interested in is how you make relevance about the consumer experience, not about what advertisers think consumers want. And so I've done some research on how consumers actually feel about things like targeting and the use of data for personalization. And it turns out, shockingly, humans are individuals. And they have highly variable perspectives on this stuff. And it's not as though every young person is cool with it and every older person is not. It's a lot more nuanced than that. And so really it was a conversation about how, on a sort of practical level, we need to start shifting paradigms in how we think about our ad tech stack and how we think about the creative process and how we think about consumer segmentation with this orientation around the consumer experience in advertising itself.
So how does that happen? Or, I mean, you know, in terms of practical application by the tech companies?
So if I were a marketer and I were thinking about a more consumer-oriented omni-channel advertising strategy, every day I would be thinking about how well am I able to understand consumers at the consumer level. So things like identity management become really, really important. So it's not a nice to have, it's literally a how do I resolve to people so that when I'm doing my advertising, I'm doing it at the people level. So that's one thing. Another thing would be, you know, how are my different ad technologies talking to each other in a way that allows me to better manage my frequency more globally. So it's a thing we talk about. We've been talking about frequency management for 20 years. I think that talking about it and really committing to it, even when it's hard, are different things. So those are really practical things from a technology standpoint. And then from a creative standpoint, it's things like, you know, injecting some humanity into the process very early. That doesn't mean that it doesn't happen in the big idea stage traditionally. That's very much a creative palette about emotional resonance and all this kind of thing. But, you know, in the digital world, we're not as good at that in the day-to-day with the creative that is out in market. And so how do we make sure we're always thinking about the consumer? And there's tech that actually is giving advertisers those palettes and agencies those palettes to be able to do that kind of stuff. Those are a couple examples.
Great. So tell us about some of your research that you've been up to and what might be coming out.
So two things I'm super excited about that I'm writing right now, aside from this omni-channel advertising playbook, which is a big deal, you know, to put together kind of a whole tutorial on how to do this stuff. One is a Forrester wave on creative ad technologies. And so those are the ones that can help marketers and agencies do everything from kind of authoring of ads to the creation of versions of ads to real-time ad assembly to, you know, cross-channel storytelling to reporting and insights. It's a really interesting category, poorly understood. Although these companies have been around for a while, some of them, I would still call it very nascent, but really important. So that's a wave that will be out in maybe a month or so. And then I'm also doing one right now on AI and advertising, really just trying to tease apart what we're really talking about when we're talking about things like machine learning in the context of advertising. So helping marketers figure out what questions to ask, when they should care and when they don't need to care as much, and maybe where it's going and why that matters so much.